I'm up for whatever you're sending my way.
Okay, sounds wonderful. Well, let's get in here. It's great to meet you, Lisa. Thank you so much for taking a minute out today. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. So let's begin our journey with this. I always start with this question. 6 years ago, COVID changed so much about our lives. It was a big fork in the road. How did you get through that era, and how has it changed the way that you live and work today?
I hate to say this. I was extremely lucky during COVID. I mean, I lost people. I think everybody that I know lost people. But I was very lucky. I had two teenagers, and we had a house, and we had Wi-Fi, and everyone had their own computers. And if I fed my teenagers, they were fine, and we were fine. And our house isn't anything grand, but we each had our own little corner, and it was surprisingly okay. And I was able to check in on all the people I loved and cared about. My parents were okay during that time, extended family was okay. What was really interesting is, of course, it forced the world to go online. And I'd already been online for a fair bit. I had a Zoom account before the pandemic, if you can imagine that. And I'd already been teaching, coaching, facilitating, doing a whole bunch of things online. And what this did is it actually opened up some possibilities. Clients who had insisted that I travel to wherever they were in the world were now fine doing things online. It became more effective. And I think it opened up a lot of possibilities. So it was, yeah, it's interesting to look back on it, right? At the
Yeah,
time, we think, oh, this is going to change the world permanently, forever and forever.
yeah.
And I think in a lot of ways, people are just people, and we still went back to our basic human needs. So,
Yeah, we
yeah,
certainly have. It's interesting you mentioned having Zoom that early on. I
yeah,
think about there's a good friend of mine who always introduced me to new technologies. I remember the first time Google came out, he was like, dude, you got to check this out. Sit
yeah,
down and just type in anything, and you'll have 8 billion results in like a point 1 second. So
yeah.
all of those new technologies, because I remember there was some version of maybe Microsoft or Zoom had some or Google had something, but I don't remember Zoom until this all happened. It was kind of like the toilet paper phenomenon. Like, why are you all buying this? What are you doing? It was
You
just
know,
this
the
weird
funny
grouping.
thing is, my local store had a sale on toilet paper about a month before everybody was stocking up. So I was lucky. I
There
got
you
in
go.
on that. But yeah, I was on, what was I on before Zoom? WebEx,
Yeah.
BlueJeans.
Uh-huh.
Like there were a couple of things that were floating around. And it's like I was teaching
Yeah.
using that. And I had about six different apps on my computer at one point because, everyone was using all these different things. And so I had already created ways of being able to talk to people, to coach my leaders, to do team facilitation, to be able to run workshops through all these different platforms. And then it kind of feels like everybody else got caught up. And the functionality has only gotten better. I mean, Zoom
Yeah.
at the beginning of pandemic, it is light years better now. Teams has gotten better. I don't know if people are Microsoft fans, but Teams has gotten better.
Yeah.
It's got a lot more functionality. They were playing catch up for a while. So that's kind of exciting to see.
Yeah, it certainly is. So let me ask you this. If I put you in front of a bunch of 13-year-olds at career day and one of the kids wanted to know what you do for a living, how do you synthesize what you do for your day job to make sense to them?
Oh God, I still can't answer that question for my own inner 13-year-old Joe. It just doesn't happen. Basically, here's my little elevator pitch that I came up with years ago. Is I work with leaders to help them be better leaders. I work with teams to help them be better teams, and I work with organizations to help them be great places to work. And that's what I do. And when I'm talking to leaders or I'm talking to people in HR, I say, if you have people questions, people issues that you are dealing with, and it is before any considerations of legal, because if it gets to legal, you've gone beyond me. I can probably help you in all of those stages, whether that's one on one stuff, whether that's team stuff, whether that's system stuff. I just have this like 25 years of experience and training and education that I can bring in and probably custom create something for you that will help you move towards your most important goals in the workplace.
That makes total sense. I think they would totally understand that. So let me ask you this. When you were that age at career day, what was your dream job? What did you want to be when you grew up?
I did not have a dream job when I was 13, and I have friends, people who are like, right from the time I was 6, I knew I wanted to be a lawyer. And I'm like, that's so cool. Then you work towards being a lawyer and you get to be a lawyer and you're happy as a lawyer and you retire with the gold watch and stuff. I think that's really cool because I have never known that. So my first career is I was actually a high school French teacher because here in Canada, our bilingualism is French and English. And so I taught French as a second language, and got into that because I come from a long line of teachers. But once you get into the work world, you discover there are all these jobs that you have no idea exist. And I ended up falling into this world of organizational development, which when you go to cocktail parties, not that I go to a lot of cocktail parties, but when you go to cocktail parties and you say, I'm a French teacher, people have all sorts of opinions. They have opinions about public education. They have opinions about teachers. They have opinions about French. They have opinions about kids these days. I taught high school. Everyone has opinions about teenagers, right? Like people just give you opinions. Now I go to cocktail parties, which again, I don't really go to, and I say, I'm an organizational development consultant. And they just look at me like, I don't know what these two words mean when you put them together. So I fell into it. I didn't know what leadership coaching was. I didn't know what went on inside corporate because my family was not a corporate family. So yeah, I never could have predicted ending up where I ended up.
So where were you born and raised?
I was born and raised in Ontario, Canada,
Okay.
small rural Ontario, Canada. Cows in the backyard, chickens on one side, horses on the other side, corn across the road. Yeah, I grew up in the country. It was great.
So what were the seeds that were planted early on in your life that has allowed you to be a coach and a consultant? What was going on, whether consciously or subconsciously, that has become the career that you have?
I think my family definitely valued learning. Both my parents were high school teachers at one point. They both went on into second careers when they kind of retired from teaching because they retired young, so they had lots of time to do something else. They were actually doing their MAs in counseling psychology when I was a teenager. And so they would get mail order books through like post office, mail order, physical hard copy books. And I would steal them and read them before my parents could read them. And I remember saying to my dad once, he was taking a course on parenting or counseling parents or family therapy or something like that. And I read his books and I told him he couldn't use any of those techniques on me as his daughter because I had already read the books and I would know what he was up to. So I was just like an avid reader, and there's always this sense of there's opportunities for me to go learn about something either formally through education and training or whatever, or informally learn on the job, go talk to people who are doing this, and just pick it up. So I have been very fortunate to be able to just kind of follow my interests and keep learning about new things. And I've always had people in my life who have supported that.
So what about heroes or inspirations? Who has been that inspirational force for you in your career and your evolution to this point?
I just get really intellectually excited by like whoever is there saying really cool things that kind of makes my head explode. When I did my MBA, I was really fortunate that the dean of the business school at the time was Roger Martin, who's a great strategist and a great organizational thinker. He taught a class that I took on learning how to learn, and he just put out these frameworks about how people think and about how people get along and make their way and make meaning in the world. I just thought this was the coolest stuff. Like it's one of those things that changed how I saw movies. I'm watching a movie and I'm like, these people would have no conflict if they would just ask each other these questions. I'd be a horrible screenwriter because there would be like, it'd be so boring to watch anything I came up with. But just like people like that, or even like my dad going and learning after being a high school English teacher to get his MA in counseling psychology, like just to go into something completely different. A great boss that I had who said, I just want you to sit and learn the organization. And all these great tools that you have, let's just experiment with them. Let's just see what catches fire out there. And just like people who encouraged me and people who presented new ideas. I did a master's of applied positive psychology, and getting to hear some of the top psychological thinkers in North America really come into our program at the University of Pennsylvania and talk about what they were thinking of now. What connections are they making now? It's just like I would love to be in that classroom every single year to hear what these thinkers are thinking about. It's just such a great place to grow and thrive and get my worldview challenged on everything.
When it comes to organizations and businesses, there's all kinds of examples of products and CEOs and people that have done it right from the top down. They take care of their employees, they have products people come back to. There's just the general nature of profitability all the way around. What CEO or company exists out there that you would love to meet with the CEO or to look further into it that might help you on your journey?
There's a lot out there. And I'm thinking about, of course there are the big ones, right? You're like, wouldn't it be fascinating to see the inside of Google or to see the inside of 3M? Like I worked for 3M for a summer and just the stories of the creativity in 3M and how that got encouraged. And it would be fascinating to see the inside of some of these large organizations, even like I'm going to say like manufacturing organizations like Toyota. You hear great things about Toyota and how Toyota operates. But I bet there are also a lot of small to medium enterprises that I have never heard of, where they've got 50 to 200 employees. And so they're big enough that they have some sort of structures. They grew up from around somebody's living room table or garage, and they're doing a really great job that people are absolutely loyal to. And they're doing amazing things in house, but nobody knows about them because they're not in the Fortune 500. And those are the ones that I would love to find. Those are the ones that I think give hope and also to leaders in the world out there. Because if you're in like a Fortune 100, you're a global organization, you feel like a really tiny cog. You feel like I can't do anything because there's this huge, banking corporation around me or insurance corporation around me or pharma corporation around me, whatever it is. But I think it's those small and medium ones where you can look and say, I can make a difference here. I can really learn. And because I have reasonable access to the strategic decision makers, my voice matters. And then if we can get people to learn from what works there and bring it inside a massive organization, like you've got a tiny little part of that organization, but that matters. We know from research that leaders and managers are hugely influential in how employees view their organization, whether they're engaged, whether they're loyal. I think we can learn a lot from the small companies that are doing it well and import that into big companies.
For sure. So let me ask you this. Being in the place of consulting and coaching companies and leaders and different kinds of people, it can get murky. I mean, human
Yes.
beings have a knack for that. How do you stay grounded? How do you keep your energy level high, your optimism high? What is it every day for you to do this job at a high level? And you have a soul and a family to take care of. How do you holistically do that every day?
Yeah. Years ago, a few years ago, I don't know. Do you have kids? Have you raised
Yeah.
kids, Jill? Have you been around young
Oh
kids?
yeah.
When your kids are little, they go to bed at like 7 p.m. And then they start going to bed at 7:30. Then they go to bed at 8. Then they go to bed at 8:30. And what I've been doing is I've been putting in like 2 hours or so of work after they went to bed, which is great if they're going to bed at 8. Like I'll go to bed at 10:30. That's fine. And then they get to be teenagers. And you're like, I don't know when you're going to bed. So I had to have a sit down with my family several years ago and say, look, I am shutting down at 9. I need nobody to come to me unless there are bodily fluids involved. Like, do not bug me after 9 o'clock so I can close up my day. And I preserved my sleep. And that was the very first thing I intentionally did to look after myself. I know I am miserable if I don't get my sleep. And I told my husband and my kids, you will like me much better if I get my sleep. I will just be a better person all around. And then it was looking after my physical activity. I have a lovely walk that I do from my house. It's an hour loop. It is peaceful, it is calm. I listen to podcasts when I'm out for a walk because I like to keep my brain going. That's been really helpful. I have a gym that I go to once a week just to lift some heavy stuff. Like that is awesome. And then just eating really healthy foods as best I can. Now, I won't lie, I have a pie in the fridge right now that is going to be dessert tonight. I'm not like, pure about all of this, but just making sure that I am looking after those biological basics. I stay hydrated. I try to get out into nature. I try to stay connected to my friends because we know social activity is really important for looking after yourself. So, all of those basics, I'm trying to look after those as best I can in our crazy world that is so easy to get off track. But, we try
Yeah.
our best. And then in the workplace, I really focus on my clients. There are a lot of people out there who care deeply, great managers who want to make life good for people on their team. Like I'm working with them and I get buoyed by their energy. When they have hope and optimism, I have hope and optimism right alongside them. And I bring in the tools and they bring in the implementation, and it turns into a great partnership. And that creates some virtuous upward spirals that just I hope carry us both and brings good things to them and their organizations. So yeah, I mean this is years of practicing on
Yeah,
this, and we never get it perfect. There is no perfect, but when things start to go off kilter, at least I know the questions to ask myself.
for sure. So let me ask you this. If you had a dream tonight and ran into an 18-year-old version of you, ready to go out into the world and change it, and you walked into the room and there's a film projector and you click play and a 60-second highlight reel of your life comes up on the wall, is that young version of you going to believe your life turned out this way?
No, no, my 18-year-old self was pretty messed up and had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
When I was 18 and I was just heading off to university, I was in a very general program, didn't even know I was going to end up being a French teacher, let alone what is this crazy coaching, consulting, speaking, facilitating, training. I had no insight into that. Um, yeah, my 18-year-old was definitely ready to head out into the world, but would have no idea where I am now.
Would you have any advice for that younger version?
Um, when we are young, like I say, 18, even in our 20s, we think that a lot of things are big deals that really are not big deals. And at the moment, of course, it's a big deal. It's your life, it's your whole life. And you don't, even though you think you're all grown up and all that, you don't really have as much perspective as you do later in life with all the gray hair that I have now. So I think it would be mostly like just stay the course. This too shall pass. Get over yourself. It's going to be okay. You don't know how it's going to be okay yet, but just have faith it's going to be okay.
So in that highlight reel, what's the thing that you're the proudest of, the happiest about?
Um, Boy, there's so many. Like on the personal side, my family is awesome. My husband is very supportive. My kids have turned out to be really good people, which, there's ups and downs through all of that, but they have turned out to be really good people. And on the professional side, I have just met so many amazing people through the work that I do, through the educational programs that I've been in. And I just think like I'm really proud about how I have found the best in the world around me and capitalized on that, be that on the personal side or on the professional side. I know really cool people. I think I just have amazing people in my life.
So everyone has a perception of you. Family, friends, clients, everyone that knows you, and all these little Venn diagrams that float around.
You're
But you,
scaring me, Joe.
you hold on,
That's a
we're
scary
gonna get
thought.
there. This is the therapy part of it. So you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Who do I think I am? Up until a few years ago, I would have said I'm a lifelong learner. And I think there is something that happens around middle age, and other people have written about this. Like something changes, and you kind of move from what they call fluid intelligence, which is all this learning and this flexibility, to crystallized intelligence, which is more about like the wisdom that you have. And I think I'm at this point where I'm getting to the end of my kind of like formal learning. I have stood on the shoulders of amazing people who have gone before me. And now I want to give back into that world and creating knowledge and creating things that other people can go and leverage. So I think it's still learning and teaching. That's been a very solid theme through my entire life. I think it's just showing up in a different way at this point. So I'm not sure. Like there's definitely that learning piece. It's a number one strength for me is that love of learning. But there's also now that how do I give it back and help other people so they can stand on it and grow and take it further.
So let's end on a fun note here. I'm gonna have a time machine pull up in front of your house, and you get to
Ooh,
climb in, and you get to see one event in human history unfold before your eyes. What one event would you love to see in real
what one
time?
event? What immediately comes to mind is a very geeky reference back to the first episode of Big Bang Theory when the two guys, Sheldon and Leonard, are signing their roommate agreement and they say, we agree if either of us creates time travel, we will come back to this moment. And there's like a 10-second pause where they stop and look around and nothing shows up. What would I want to see unfold? Boy, like all of it. I
There's
just
so much
would be
stuff.
so curious about all of it. There are a few points where I kind of wish like we could intervene and do things better. But yeah, there's no one. I'm just
Okay.
so deeply curious about everything. If
Yeah.
somebody just spun a random dial, I would be down for
Yeah.
that. I'm good to go.
That's cool. I love that answer. That's great. So if anybody has questions, they want to hire you, they want to reach out, they want to go to the next level, where's the best place for them to go?
Yeah, so you can find me on LinkedIn. I think I'm the only Lisa Sansom who does coaching in Ontario, Canada. So feel free to look me up there.
Yeah.
Or my website is LVS, those are my initials, lvsconsulting.com. That's a great place to find me as well. And there's a contact form on there. And I'm also blogging and posting articles on LinkedIn if you want to know what I've been up to lately.
Okay, I will put those links in the show notes. Lisa, thank you so much. I'm so glad we connected. Thank you for your story and time. It's so enlightening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate your questions and your energy so much.
Yes, thank you.